All right, let's jump right into one of the oldest, toughest questions in all of ethics. Do the ends justify the means? I mean, really, can a good goal make it okay to use a not so good method to get there? It's a question that pops up everywhere, from big blockbuster movies to the small choices we make every single day.
So, to really get a feel for what's at stake here, we're not going to start with some dusty old theory. Nope. We're going to start with a high-stakes thought experiment. This isn't just an academic puzzle. This is literally a question of life and death. So I want you to imagine this. Really put yourself there. You are hiding an innocent family. They're terrified. You've given them shelter in your home, but there are violent attackers looking for them. The fear in that room is something you can feel. And then it happens. That knock on the door you've been dreading. Your heart is just pounding in your chest. You know exactly who it is, and you know exactly what they want. This is it. They look you right in the eye and they ask you, flat out. Every single instinct in your body is screaming. So what do? Do you break one of the most fundamental moral rules, don't lie, to maybe achieve a much greater good? And right there, that's the heart of the whole problem, isn't it? If you tell the truth, these innocent people could be killed. But if you lie, you might just save their lives. The consequences of what you do are staring you in the face, and they seem to be in a head-on collision with a basic moral rule. Okay, so let's explore the first big answer to this question. This is the way of thinking that looks at the situation we just dreamed up and says, yes, absolutely. Of course you lie. The ends do justify the means. The fancy name for this philosophy is consequentialism. And, as the name suggests, it is all about the consequences. An action isn't good or bad just sitting there in a vacuum. Its moral worth comes from the actual results it produces out in the real world. The argument here is incredibly practical. A consequentialist would say, look, the whole point of morality is to make the world a better place, right? To boost well-being, to reduce suffering. If you get so hung up on some abstract rule that you let people get hurt, you're missing the entire point of being a good person. It can actually seem pretty cold to prioritize keeping your own hands clean over actually saving someone's life. And this is the challenge a consequentialist throws down. It forces you to pick a side. Are you loyal to a principle written in a book somewhere, or are you loyal to the actual breathing human beings in front of you? For them, the answer is obvious. Morality has to serve people. But of course, that is only half the story. There is a really powerful, really compelling argument on the other side of the fence. This is the view that says, hold on a second. No, there are some lines that we should never ever cross, no matter what the outcome is. This approach is called deontology. It comes from a Greek word that means duty, and that's the key. It argues that morality is all about doing our duties and respecting certain rules that just can't be broken. Some things, like torturing someone or killing an innocent person, they're just wrong, period. And no greater good can ever magically make them right. So the really crucial idea here is dignity. A deontologist would argue that when you lie to someone or when you use them as a tool to get something you want, you are failing to respect them as a person who has value in their own right. And beyond that, our actions define who we are. If you consistently use cruel means to achieve your good ends, you're not just getting a result, you're shaping yourself and your whole society into something cruel. And this leads to one of the biggest warnings from this side, the slippery slope. I mean, think about it. History is just filled with examples of horrible things being done in the name of noble goals like the greater good or national security. The argument is that once you decide it's okay to break a huge moral rule just this once, it gets a whole lot easier to do it again and again, until that rule doesn't mean anything at all. So we've got these two really powerful, competing ideas. But let's be real, life is rarely that black and white, is it? Most of our toughest choices happen in that messy gray area right in between these two extremes. I mean, some cases just feel pretty obvious. Let's go back to our first scenario. Lying to a murderer to save a family? Almost everyone would say that's the right call. The end, saving lives, is so incredibly important, and the means, telling one lie, is by comparison pretty minor. The choice just seems clear. But on the flip side, other cases feel just as clear, but in the total opposite direction. Torturing children for information, bombing civilians as a political statement, killing one innocent person just to calm down an angry mob. For most of us, these actions are just monstrous. They're morally off the table, and no potential end could ever justify them. This is where a lot of modern ethics tries to find some kind of middle path. The basic idea is that we should have really strong moral rules. Things like don't lie or don't harm the innocent. We hold on to those, but if following that rule would lead to an absolute catastrophe, like the total destruction of a city, then and only then you might be justified in breaking it. This gets into something called the dirty hands problem. A leader, for example, might be faced with a choice where every single option is bad. They might have to choose the least awful option. But that choice doesn't suddenly make the action good. It's still a tragic choice. There's a moral stain that remains. The ends don't just magically wash the means clean. Now, this all might sound like it's just for world leaders and superheroes. But this exact dilemma plays out in our own lives all the time, just on a much smaller scale. I mean, have you ever told a white lie because you didn't want to hurt a friend's feelings? Or maybe you broke a promise because keeping it would have caused a bigger problem. Every time you do that, you are making a calculation. You're deciding that the end results, sparing feelings, preventing harm, justifies the means of being a little dishonest or breaking your word. What this all suggests is that a truly mature way of looking at morality means we have to live with a certain kind of tension. We absolutely can't ignore the consequences of our actions. That would be totally irresponsible. But at the same time, we can't just believe that a good goal gives us a blank check to do whatever we want. We have to care about both, the ends and the means. And this brings the whole question right back to you, personally. Maybe the biggest danger in all of this thinking is how easily we can fool ourselves. So think about a time you bent a rule. When you did it, were you really, truly serving some greater good? Or was it just easier for you? Be honest. We all have our limits. So what are yours? What are those actions that just feel like red lines to you? Things that are so against your core values that you just can't imagine a situation where you'd be willing to do them, no matter how great the supposed reward. Knowing where you draw those lines is a huge part of having a moral compass. And really, at the end of the day, that is the question we're all left with. It's not just about what we get done in the world, it's about who we are. So how do we chase our goals with passion and try to make things better while also making sure that the methods we use are building a character and a world that we can actually be proud of?